And welcome on this beautiful August 3rd? August 3rd, 2025. Football is in the air. A little nip in the air this morning, a little coolness last few days, guys. Kerry Keyton, my regular podcast partner here on Coach Keyton and Crawford, along with one of my favorite Sparty, if not my favorite Sparty. Sorry, Kerry. I mean, Jay's just nicer than you are. He's not as cynical. He just isn't. He's Jay Greene. He's number 80 for the Spartans. Came in 1980. Unfortunately, you had some knee injury that shortened your career at Michigan State, but you had a great part of that program, and you're a loyal Spartan dog, and you're very involved in the football program, as is Kerry. So it's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I need
Yeah.
to take you with me everywhere.
That just came off on the fly. I mean, I love number 55, double nickel up here up in the upper right hand corner. He's my guy. But love having your perspective. It was great seeing you at Sparty's Cafe a couple weeks ago. That was nice, and we got into the word expectations.
Yes.
I love to hear expectations from former players, because you've been inside those walls over there on Shaw Lane. You know what it's like. You know what the expectations are in the program. And so we'll get into that. But so Kerry tells me you were at practice. Michigan State started their practice, I believe, on Tuesday, because they open on the Friday night of Labor Day weekend. So they get 1 day extra start than most of the August 30th start teams. But what was your takeaway when you're over there at the Duffy?
I felt like there was great energy. The one thing that I always tell people, because I have a lot of people that ask, how do I think we're gonna be?
Yeah.
And for me, it's hard to tell until we actually play against another team how good we will actually be.
Yeah.
Because when you playing against guys that you play against every day, sometimes you can cheat. You'll know tendencies. It's just certain stuff that you can pick up on that may not give you an accurate picture of what's really going on. So I felt like the energy was great. I felt like they looked sharp. But as far as expectation and how good we would be, I think that remains to be seen. And they weren't even in pads when we saw them, so that's the other thing.
There you go. That goes back to I want to segue into the topic, because even I know in the first couple of practices, you're just you're not wearing pads, and then you start contact work. I don't know, practice number 4 or 5, whatever it is, but it's so limited. And taking guys to the ground, Kerry Keyton. I mean, when you were playing there, you were a little bit above in front of Jay. In fact, you were exiting when he was entering. What was contact work like then, in contrast to what it is now?
Let's just say that it's like camp. It's like club med. What these young fellas going through nowadays, because
pajamas and all that stuff.
it's totally and rightfully so. I mean, you could practice tackling and stuff now without hurting your guys and stuff. But back in the 80s and late 80s, hey man, it was 2 a-days and you was out there getting hit and you was getting tackled like every day. It was no cut up and all that kind of stuff. You was getting hit and you was getting tackled.
Well, I mean, I have friends of mine on the when I was at school in Michigan in the 1970s. The quarterbacks it was all live. They didn't have that red shirt jersey on BS. I mean, they were getting concussed in practice. I know BJ Dickey got taken up by Mel Owens, and he saw stars, woke up in the locker room. I mean, that was normal stuff. How about for you, Jay? I mean, the contrast in contact work, because you're over there at practice quite a bit.
Well, I think that, again, it's one of those things that we practice twice a day, and all practices were very physical because toughness, at least I don't know anywhere else, but at Michigan State, toughness was always like the calling card. So practices were very physical.
George Pearl. Yep.
And like Kerry said, I understand why it's gone to what it's gone to, because there's a lot of safety involved now. and there's a lot of money involved. So you want to kind of protect, the
Yeah.
guys to make sure that they're on the field on Saturdays for all of the money that people are paying to see them. So I think that I'm not one of the guys, older guys who, don't like new things. I think that things are supposed to get better, and we don't have to understand them, and because it's not our time. When we played, we did it how it was supposed to be done. Now it's done a different way, and that's how they do it. So I'm fine with it.
Kerry, you're talking about tackling. I mean, you don't have to take people to the ground to sink your hips. And I mean, you've done this at the high school level at East Lansing, I mean, all throughout your coaching at Eastern Everett and East Lansing. But I mean, I see they use those pole vault pads,
Absolutely.
What a great idea that is. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
We just talked about that the other day. One of my friends was asking me. I'm like, "Oh no, it's you tackle and we had the crash pads and the kids fall on there. You're still falling down, but you're falling on the pad. You're not falling on the turf or a case of people that don't have turf on grass or whatnot, where it hurts more. So it's an easier way, but you're tackling and you're forming in, you're fitting them, and you're driving through, and you're going to the bag, and you get up and go off, and it's less stress on the body, and that's
Yeah.
what you're trying because you want, like Jay said, you want to keep people fresh for Saturday.
Yeah.
You got to keep the kids fresh for Friday, but you still have to get the work in, and that's one of the harder things to teach and to get because on Friday and Saturday and Sundays it's live. You gotta get them down. You just have to get them down one way or another. You gotta get them down, and it's hard to teach it without being 100% full go in practice. That's just a way we could get to it, by using the crash pads, and that's the best safest way right now for as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but keep it in mind, but also ball security has got to be an issue. I mean, if you're not going, you're going on a crash pad. I mean, of course, a ground can't cause a fumble, right? So
Right.
you have to
But you
worry
get
about.
a lot of drill work with the running backs or what they hitting them with pads and coaches
Yeah,
grabbing balls and the players and all that kind of stuff. So you get plenty of drill work with keeping the ball safe.
I get that. Okay,
And,
Jay.
and,
So
and
yeah,
can I also add
go
to
ahead.
that I've always felt like, of course, there's some technique in tackling, but all of us who've been around football know that tackling is more of a want than anything. Like everybody don't want to tackle, and the
Right.
guys you can tell the guys who love to tackle, and you can tell the guys who don't want to tackle, which is fine because it's a very physical game. But I feel like tackling is more of a want than it is technique
That's a
because
great
usually
point.
it's just kind of like getting your head on the right side, getting them in the right place, depending on the position of the ball carrier. And I think it's more detrimental to the offense because they're not getting that contact until it's actually a game.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you can't simulate that going forward. Okay, Jay, when we were at Sparty's, we got into this a little bit
Mhm.
about expectations. And I always love the former player's perspective as opposed to fanboys like me. I want to get your perspective because I think you guys think with a clearer head, and you don't get caught up in things as much. But when you look at this is year number 2 for Jonathan Smith, and this is the third consecutive. Michigan State's had what 3 losing seasons, which is not that's not the expectation for Michigan State. I mean, and this goes, Duppy Dory, Saban Perlis, Mark D'Antonio. But what is? I mean, when you watch this team this year, what is your What is your standard of expectation? Where hey, this is working out. Coach Smith's got us in the right trajectory. But when would you know it's not in the right trajectory on this field? Is there a certain record? Is there certain games they have to win, or how they play, or what?
I would say you would know if we are in games or not. I think that's the thing that you have to go by, whether we in games. Like we all know that how the smallest thing can mean the difference between winning and losing. So I wouldn't necessarily want to put it on that. I would say how we playing, if we are in games, the discipline, how we may be, if we are losing games, how we are actually losing games. Are
Yeah.
they close games? Are they blowouts? Are we getting dominated? So I feel like it's a lot that goes into determining that. Now, if you're talking about record, I feel like no matter what your scenario is, beating Michigan has to be a part of that scenario. Like
It has
I
to,
think
so is that a non-negotiable for you?
for me, I would say yes because I felt like we should have beat them last year, and
Yeah.
we got them at home this year. So I would say
Yeah.
yes that is non-negotiable for sure.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Kerry? I guess I'm not trying to post you guys up as former players or
No,
put you in an
no,
awkward situation, but I mean, when you look at the program and you get this new athletic director who has grandiose plans for your athletic program, and when will you know, Kerry, that maybe even after 2 years that Jonathan Smith might not be the right guy for the job?
Well, we talked about that before, and Jay hit it right on the head. I mean, it's a competitive balance. I mean, if we're not competitive, and we're getting smoked, and that's a problem. And especially if we're not, you know, like the first two games, should dominate those teams
Yeah.
and win those games. Boston College could be a little different, but
No,
we
you
we have
gotta
to be.
you got BC at home, Kerry. That
I
is
understand that. I
that's
understand that, but
how about
it's
non-negotiable?
still ACC is still. I mean, I don't think the ACC is super strong, but it's still the ACC. It's not the MAC, But we have to be the bigger games, the bigger teams. We have to be competitive, and we have to. I'm not gonna. We definitely. I agree, Jay. We should have. I believe we both believe we should have won that game last year. We had that game with Michigan and we blew it ourselves. I don't think that's a deal breaker for me per se. At home, it will be lovely. Trust me. Everybody wants. We want to beat them guys, but I don't know if that's necessarily a deal breaker for me. But
Okay.
we can't have no 49 to nothings.
No, I'm not. That's
We
obvious.
can't. We can't ever go back to that ever again because that's unacceptable.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. September 19th at the Los Angeles Coliseum, you're going to find out how good you are. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying Lincoln Riley's team's going to be some juggernaut, and it's not like their home crowd is, it's not like going to Oregon, Austin Stadium, because you'll have, trust me, with all the Big Ten alumni out there, you will have a ton of Spartan fans and alumni in that stadium. And I'm not saying it's going to be half and half, but it's not going to be a big home field for USC, because they engage later on in the year when they potentially are viable for a national title. So I think that's the game you're going to find. Don't you think, Jay? You're going to find out a
No,
lot. It's
I
how they
agree.
play. It's how they
I
play.
I think that every year there's a game that you look at and say, this is the game that's going to let us know who and what we are. I remember 21, it was the game we were going to Miami to play at
Miami.
Miami.
Yes, sir.
And
That's right.
everybody was kind of waiting to see because of different things. Miami being Miami, you
Mm-hmm.
playing in the sun, it's hot. It's a lot of different factors that's going in, and we won that game kind
That's
of
great.
handily, and it's kind of showed what our season was after that, because even leading up to that, we had some good performances, but they were against inferior teams. So I think that you are correct that even though the USC probably hasn't been what USC is used to being, going on the road and playing in that Coliseum is going to be a huge test for us, and I think that that's the game this year that will let us know who and what we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be a big optic that you can look, and it's not so much win or lose, but I think they have a shot at winning that game, to be quite frank, depending on how these first three games go. And this offensive line, talking to my TV partner Zach Eveling, he said he was at day one. he counted 22 offensive linemen in that room. And for that's insane. Just a few years ago, they had like 6 in the whole position group. So that's an upgrade. That's definitely. Do you see the size of these guys, Jay? There's been
No, they are definitely big as far as size and in numbers, and I think that's again moving forward. That's an important thing because we all know how injury can affect your season. So the more bodies that you have available that can contribute, the better. I think.
Yeah, Kerry. And this is going to take us to another topic I want to wrap up at the end. Michigan State right now recruiting, and you know how in 24/7 they're like 31st, which that's decent. Because y'all can make some move down the road before signing day. But I think I counted 4 kids out of the state of Michigan out of the 20-some they have. Do you wish that Jonathan Smith would emphasize? And there's a kid from Ohio and here and there, but it did miss out on Joe Patrick's kid. Do you wish Jonathan Smith had more of a Great Lakes State emphasis on recruiting, or not?
At the end of the day, I don't care where these kids come from, as long as they come in and they can play football. Because there are kids out there all over the place. And once again, Jay could tell you, there's a whole bunch of guys that came in when I played that were McDonald's All-Americans this and McDonald, and they weren't even Burger King All-Americans. They had no business being at the school. So all that kind of stuff that's all great, and where they come from and all. We have a bunch of these cats from Pennsylvania come in. Hey, like, I don't know what y'all doing over there, but we do a little thing different here. I like the 4-hour radius thing. I would love to have more kids from Michigan because it builds the fan base. It brings it home. The kids that come here, they understand the Michigan State rivalry.
Yep.
That kind of thing. It helps with that. So of course, like I said, the 4-hour radius. I truly believe in that. But that man has a plan, and he has to do what he feels is best. Those coaches, he's got coaches from different parts, and they got eyes.
Yeah, it's a West Coast. So you got Hawk on there, and maybe one other guy with Michigan State ties. That's
right.
Not lie, but look what Martin Antonio did. Man, he served. he had Ohio, he got Michigan. He took over the Midwest, and he had Midwest tough guys, Midwest toughness. That worked for him. And that's why
that's the same thing George did. George did the same. D'Antonio didn't do anything different than George did. Did the same thing. Yeah. You get the 2 or 3-star guys, and you get them in here with chips on their shoulder. You coach them up, and you beat people up. That's what we did.
Can I add though that?
I want to throw this. They just hired a recruiting analyst from Texas. Okay, Michigan State did. Okay, so you're thinking? Okay, you want to reach down to Texas. I'll tell you what, that's a daunting task because Michigan State doesn't have quite the national reputation and grab people from far away as it stands right now. They can get back to that like they were in 13 and 14, but they're not there right now. And that's what my feeling is. They should focus more on Midwest. Your thoughts, Jay?
I think that the difference is y'all gave examples of Coach D'Antonio and Coach Prolis. I think the difference is that now guys are moving around so much. I don't think it really matters where they coming from. Of course, you want guys from Michigan or within the 4-hour radius, but the question is how long are they going to be around? We have, I think, 60 new guys on our roster this year. Yeah. Which is, when you think about it, is crazy. So I think that, at the end of the day, where the kids come from, and the other thing is recruiting is relationship based. So with him coming from where he come from, I think he's leaning on the relationships that he already has because the window isn't as big as it usually is. Now coaches need to win right now. You don't have time to build your program. So I think that he's kind of leaning on the relationships that he has now to try to be successful.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jay, you're building a program, you're building it through the portal.
They got
I get a high school kid.
Yeah.
I get a high school kid. That comes out of high school. That's whatever. I can go get a red shirt junior. Yeah, he coming in a man child, like the young fella Turner from Wisconsin last year. I'm like,
Yeah.
now he's in the end. I'm like, okay, where'd he come from? Well, he came from another college. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and part of it, there's one of the areas, and the guy in the bottom screen is brought up in Flint, Michigan. And, I call him one of my favorite Flintstones, and that's where athletes came. Andre Rison came from Flint Northwestern and goes to Michigan State, and look how good he was. And you had more a talent pool there, not just basketball with Izzo, but football. You had some football guys like you, Jay, and that's now null and void. How sad is it for you? Your Flint Central is no longer. There's one high school now in Flint, and and all the kids, the talented kids, have flocked to Grand Blanc and some of these other areas around Flint and
Davidson.
Yeah.
No, and the other thing that you have to throw in is the prep schools. That's a big thing now for especially the real talented kids.
Yeah.
They'll go to prep school, and again, it's a sad deal because I never thought that it would be like this. Especially, of course, you probably you both of you growing up in Lansing probably never thought it would be the way it is in Lansing.
No.
And it's the same for me and Flint that. I always thought that, there would just be talent upon talent upon talent. But again, that's not how it's done now. And kids are, kind of have their own mind. And truth be told, everything is about money now. So they're going to the highest bidder, which I totally understand and I totally get it. But, that's a huge component of what's going on now is money.
Yeah. Carmen Ainsworth's another high school in Flint that was Flint Carmen and Flint Ainsworth. They combined. They're getting some solid athletes down there. It's like these little. All of a sudden there's this hot area, where that gutted that the core of Flint, Michigan. When there were, my God, in Flint Southwestern, Flint Northwestern, Flint Northern, Flint Central, it was athletes upon athletes out of there, and that has to be sad for you, I assume.
I always tell people that back in the 80s, coaches used to rent out apartments in Flint just so they could have a hand up on recruiting because they would stick around for that long trying to get whoever it was that they were trying to get.
Yeah.
It was literally insane. And again, to see it, think about Lansing and the rich history of athletes that have come out of Lansing.
Right.
And to see that kind of dry up, you want that to keep going, but we in a new day. And NIL and money and big pockets is what's driving everything now. And that's what we gotta live with.
Yeah, Kerry, those three high schools, Eastern, Everett, Sexton, do you think they'll ever get back where they're producing D1 athletes as they have in the past?
You may get one or two, from a school.
Yeah.
One at each school. Kind of, it's just really hard because just the numbers alone of kids actually playing is down by so much. But it takes special people to want that, because you got to have a lot of things going in your favor, genetics, work ethic, grades, staying out of troubles, all those things. All that literally has to. And then you have really good kids that just some might just not be the right thing, and it is what it is. Then you have these people that I'm a hooper. Maybe you're not a hooper. Maybe you are a good hooper, but you could be a really phenomenal football player if you give it a try. But they're so focused on just doing one thing, and it's like I always tell these kids, like, the best thing in the world you can ever have, whether it's playing sports, whether it's job opportunities, whether it's buying a home, whether girlfriends, is having options.
Yes.
You want to have the
Sure.
most options you have because you never know what's going to happen. And if you pigeonhole yourself into one thing, if that one thing doesn't work out, then what do you got?
Well, I mean, basketball, there's 5 guys on the floor. Football's got 22 positions plus special team. You can get on the field as a sophomore if you got raw talent,
You could
and
do a
then
lot.
you can take right off. I mean, if you play varsity as a sophomore, you're going to end up on scouting reports. It's just the way it is.
Just because.
But, I want to focus on basketball. And, Jay, you played both, right? Were you torn between which one you wanted to focus on?
No, I was always a basketball guy. I didn't play football until I got to high school. So
Okay.
basketball was always my thing, and it was a thing where I started playing football and started to get good at it. So I started to like it. But basketball was always my thing. I was never torn.
Well, and you had your big brother Terrence, highly recruited, and went on and played at DePaul. I mean, so that they probably, hey, we got another Greene coming around here. Greene with
Heck
me
yeah.
coming around the corner.
It's funny you say that because that's how I wound up playing football because of what he did. I think they expected me to play, and
Yeah.
I didn't actually start playing until school started. You know, you have camp
Yeah.
before school starts, so I didn't start playing until school started. So I was late.
Wow.
And yeah, it took me a while for them to convince me to even play because I had never played and never thought about playing.
Yeah.
Jay,
Well,
Jay was just being smart. Let me skip these 2 days and come in
days,
here when the
man.
school start, baby. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
you
come
know
out
what?
now.
In high school, I actually liked 2 days because it was more of a bonding thing, and it
True.
wasn't such of a grind. So in
Yeah.
high school, 2 days wasn't so bad because you know you get the time in between the 2 practices where you go eat or do whatever you're gonna do. So it was more kind of a bonding thing, and it wasn't so
That's
bad.
true. That's for building that culture ever at Flint Central. Well, Jay, it's been great to have you on. We're going to have you on again if that's all right. I mean, when we keep the season
Anytime
going.
you want me, just let me know.
All right. Kerry Keyton, Jay Greene, 2 of my favorite SpartanDawgs. You've been watching Coach Keyton Crawford here on the Crawford Podcasting Network. Have a great week, guys, and we'll talk to you all soon.
You do the same.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Go Green.
All
All
right.
right.
Go Blue.